This is a story of greed and terror, of a drug empire built on corruption, intimidation, and violence. And it is a story of the men and women who sacrificed their lives to battle one of the world's most dangerous organizations, the Juárez Cartel. Jurisdiction, the world. When crimes are committed, an international organization unites police officers to deliver justice. Interpol investigates. Cancun, Mexico. Tourists from all over the world travel to the resort city to take in its exotic nightlife. But in April of 1993, that nightlife turns deadly. Rafael Aguilar Guajardo is one of Mexico's most dangerous drug lords, a man with many enemies. While he finishes his dinner with his wife, one of his enemies prepares to settle an old score. Outside, Georgianne Knafelk and her husband Barry Rosenbaum are enjoying a second honeymoon in Cancun. Georgianne is 2 months pregnant, and the American couple wanted to take the trip before the baby was born. Guajardo pushes his wife to safety and grabs Georgianne as a shield. The drug lord is dead. But he is not the only victim. Barry and Georgianne's dream vacation ends in a nightmare. By the time paramedics arrive, it is too late. The scene yields scant evidence. The witnesses draw a blank. There is little to help police find the man behind the brutal murder of a drug lord and an American vacationer. Police fear this is only the beginning.
When you have a gangland-style slaying, it's probably not going to be the only hit.
John Emhoff, the former head of the United States Interpol office.
You need to figure out why it occurred. You need to figure out the motivation, first of all, to solve the crime, and second of all, so that you can understand the dynamics of who might be next.
The Mexican police begin their search to find Rafael Guajardo's killer. Guajardo is the kingpin of one of the country's largest and most dangerous drug smuggling organizations, the Juárez Cartel. It is one of 3 cartels that control drug traffic through Mexico. The Tijuana cartel controls the western part of the country. The Gulf cartel operates in the east. And the Juárez cartel holds the center. Guajardo's death makes his entire cartel vulnerable and ignites a desperate power struggle among his lieutenants. US Customs agent John Hensley.
Now you have a headless organization and you have a vacuum, and they have been in that business long enough to know what happens when you have a vacuum. They're going to be at war, they're going to be threatened, they're going to be killed.
That very night, the bloody battle for control rages as the streets of Mexico's border towns erupt in violence. 8 Juárez cartel drug lieutenants loyal to Guajardo are hunted down and killed. This bloody power grab is for incredibly high stakes. The Juárez Cartel makes billions in profits by delivering Colombian cocaine into the U.S. Juárez is on the northern border of Mexico. It's separated from El Paso, Texas by the Rio Grande River. It's one of the largest border crossings into the U.S. Customs officers and police on both sides of the border struggle to stem the tide of illegal drugs. In Juárez, the police use high-tech surveillance systems to try and gain the advantage. At the crossing into El Paso, U.S. Customs agents are engaged in a constant search. Their target, the billions of dollars in Colombian cocaine the Juárez Cartel moves across the border each year. Interpol assists on both sides of the border, but the head of Mexican Interpol, Ponce Edmondson, recognizes it is a losing battle.
No law enforcement in the world has succeeded in the combat. We are in war against the drug dealers. We're trying to control the flow of drugs. The seizures we're doing are less than 20% of the drugs that go through.
Now, a killing has given the cartel a new leader. Mexican police and U.S. Customs must find out who is in control. Informants on the street tell them that the man who ordered the hit on Guajardo is one of his drug lieutenants, Amado Carrillo Fuentes. The Juárez Cartel, like many businesses, has two divisions. Rafael Guajardo, a sort of head of sales, made the business deals, and Amado Carrillo Fuentes oversaw the operations. But the two men don't get along. Carrillo Fuentes doesn't enjoy sharing power.
Amado Carrillo Fuentes was undereducated, very aggressive guy.
U.S. Customs agent John Hensley has fought the war on drugs for 30 years.
The key to success for a man like Amado Carrillo Fuentes was ruthlessness.
Carrillo Fuentes joined the cartel as a teenager, and over the years, police have become familiar with the aftermath of his quick and bloody rise to power. But despite Carrillo Fuentes' reputation, authorities can never pin any of the murders on him. Looking for something to link him to the Guajardo hit, police put his mansions under 24-hour surveillance. With Guajardo out of the way, Carrillo Fuentes continues to make his money by familiar means. Driving Colombian cocaine into the U.S. from the notorious Medellin cartel. Cartel operatives smuggle most of the drugs in the hollowed dashboards and hidden compartments of specially modified cars. The Colombians pay Carrillo Fuentes handsomely, but to increase their own profits, they propose a change in their payment plan.
The Colombians made a decision it would be cheaper if they just paid the Juárez Cartel in dope. And so they started paying them in hundreds and hundreds of kilos of cocaine. In terms of actual cash, they saw it as a good deal.
But the Colombians miscalculated badly.
What they did was create and make Amado Carrillo Fuentes a cocaine drug lord.
Now Carrillo Fuentes is moving his own cocaine and competing directly with the Colombian Medellin cartel for the same market. The Colombians try to stop him, but Carrillo Fuentes takes a bold stand.
They were going to cut off their cocaine supplies unless they stopped competing. And the answer back was, then you're moving no drugs through Mexico. We will shut you down, shut the door, because we control this. We also control the street organizations in the United States, and they're not going to buy from you anymore. They're going to buy from us.
In preparation for this move, Carrillo Fuentes reaches out to competing cartels. He no longer needs the Medellin cartel. They know it and give in to Carrillo Fuentes' demands. They become his partners. With this this victory, Carrillo Fuentes takes over cocaine trafficking into most of the United States.
The Juárez Cartel were actually doing business from start to finish, from the fields in Colombia, the labs down there, all the way to the streets of Los Angeles, California, and New York City.
But the huge money grab by the cartel creates chaos in the Mexican border towns. And in some cases, corrupt authorities stand by and watch it happen. In fact, the corruption fuels Carrillo Fuentes' organization.
The police in Mexico have historically received very low pay and don't come from a professional background and have accepted the fact that they can accept bribes. And so as you accept bribes for a traffic ticket, why not take bribes on a drug transaction?
Carrillo Fuentes and his gang make anyone who can help them a simple and terrifying offer. Bullets or pesos. Either they take his money or die. Carrillo Fuentes' bribes reach the highest levels of government. Some officials receiving as much as $1.5 million a month. Despite the threats, some officers won't back down. In November of 1994, Police Commander Jose Refugio Rubalcaba leaves his wife Maria and heads to work. Refugio Rubalcaba is a reformer who is cleaning up the police department by firing dozens of corrupt officers. He refuses to bow to the drug lord's threats. But today, he is picked up by members of the cartel. Days later, Jose is found murdered in the trunk of a car. A knife punctured his lungs.
In the law enforcement community, when someone goes down, no matter what their nationality, it affects all of us.
Despite the danger and almost routine corruption, many police refuse to bow to Carrillo Fuentes' threats.
There's a lot of risk, there's a lot of threats, but I mean, it's a job and you have to do it. Everybody is afraid in life. If you step back, you're a coward. I go up front. One step more. That's it.
In August of 1993, US Customs and the Mexican police are alerted of a large-scale drug bust. Mexican naval officers routinely searching cargo vessels uncovered 9 tons of cocaine worth over $20 million. It is bound for the United States. According to Interpol agent Ponce Edmondson, this kind of bust makes the cartels vulnerable.
If they lose a load of cocaine, sometimes they won't have the money to pay the provider. They can get the Colombians knocking at their door, say, hey, I want my money. So those things are good for law enforcement.
Word of the bust soon travels to Carrillo Fuentes' Colombian partners. They are furious to lose so much product and blame Carrillo Fuentes. They assume he has lost control of his organization. Colombian justice takes its usual form. They decide to take him out. On November 24th, 1993, at a restaurant in Mexico City, the Colombians make their move. A move that will have an unintended and terrifying effect. In Mexico, on November 24th, 1993, Mexican police struggle to make sense of a horrifying crime scene. Colombian hitmen have attempted to kill drug kingpin Amado Carrillo Fuentes and his wife. The assassins miss their mark and pay for it with their lives. Carrillo Fuentes and his wife escape. Journalist Jorge Mendez covers the drug cartels extensively.
It was a miracle Carrillo Fuentes escaped. One of his bodyguards risked his own life and rushed Fuentes and his wife out of the restaurant, pushed him into an armored truck, and saved their lives.
The bodyguard who saves Carrillo Fuentes is reportedly Alcides Ramon Mahana, a policeman turned gang member. Short in stature, he is nicknamed El Metro, or the Meter.
He had some power and influence, but because he stayed in the shadows, he was never considered one of the important players in the cartel.
That is all about to change. Carrillo Fuentes rewards El Metro for his outsized bravery by making him his right-hand man. He also gives him control of the profitable Cancun territory. All the drug traffic in the popular resort town is now under the control of El Metro. El Metro, known as Carrillo Fuentes' enforcer, has a reputation of conducting business with extreme violence. Investigators intensify their efforts to find him. US Customs gets a tip that El Metro may be using retail trucks to smuggle drugs out of the country and bring money in. But finding them is a daunting task. Each year, 16 million vehicles cross into the US from Juárez alone. But the diligence of US Customs and Mexican police starts to pay off. US Customs agent John Hensley.
One case in particular, El Paso, our inspector seized over $10 million hidden in a frozen food truck. That hurt him a lot.
With each success, Customs gathers intelligence and increases the pressure.
We put a hard press on the Mexican drug cartels. We did share intelligence and information with Juan Miguel Ponce and the people from Interpol. They were beginning to focus as to where they could attack the Juárez cartel most effectively.
The intelligence begins to hurt the cartel. Interpol and Mexican narcotics agents confiscate huge amounts of drugs, weapons, and cash.
The Mexicans began doing sweeps and seizing property. That's when the Juárez cartel really started to shake.
As the intense pressure on the border cuts into the cartel's profits, Carrillo Fuentes and El Metro shift their tactics. He starts shipping by air. Once again, good intelligence pays off. US Customs learns of the drug lord's new strategy and follows his every move. His drug shipments are easy prey for US Customs spotter planes. When the planes land in the US, Customs agents are often there to greet them. Yet the more than $5 billion in seizures authorities make each year barely makes a dent in the trade. US cities are still flooded with drugs from the Juárez cartel.
Amado Carrillo Fuentes became one of the biggest drug organizations that we've ever known about.
Undaunted by the small plane busts, Carrillo Fuentes uses another way.
They were buying large planes, which were bought like scrap material. They were very old planes from cargo airlines or regular fleet airlines. Nobody had statistics. And so it was very easy for them to buy. They put $50,000 and just they needed one more flight. And they crashed it at any beach or desert, but there was 10 tons of cocaine or 12 tons of cocaine.
The drug lord catches US Customs off guard.
Was not something we were initially looking for. They flew the same routes, altitudes, and essentially tried to look like a commercial aircraft.
The large aircraft create enormous profits for the cartel. Amado Carrillo Fuentes has become an extremely wealthy and powerful man.
Fuentes had the benefits that eschew from that kind of power. Women, mansions, jet planes, nice clothes, all the trappings of a drug lord.
He owned 54 mansions all over the country of Mexico. But his enormous wealth brings enormous problems. Carrillo Fuentes is having trouble hiding the mountains of cash he is earning as profit. This might be the weakness in the organization investigators have been searching for. Carrillo Fuentes needs help laundering his money. US Customs and Interpol devise a way to help the drug lord with his problem.
Interpol in Mexico began working with us to identify the assets, to seize them, to identify people to arrest and prosecute.
They set up their own money laundering front and launch a sting called Operation Casablanca. Their only interest is in one client.
The Juárez Cartel was always looking for a new source to launder their money. And so we began moving millions and millions of their dollars through the banking system.
Operation Casablanca is a success. The DEA files indictments and begins investigations of Carrillo Fuentes' financial activities in the United States. Interpol agent Ponce Edmondson sees the investigation start to hurt the cartel.
If you cut the money laundering, they're ruined because they don't have the engine, the motor that makes the organization.
Investigators begin to tighten the noose. They have enough to arrest the targets of the cartel indictments.
The Mexican government, with Juan Miguel Ponce as the point person, began arresting those people that there were warrants outstanding on in Mexico.
Investigators are finally closing in on Carrillo Fuentes.
The heat was too high on Fuentes for him to survive in his present role.
But the heat has an unintended effect.
There were just too many newspaper headlines, too many U.S. indictments. He was definitely going to get out of the way before he got caught.
When investigators finally believe they are getting close to Carrillo Fuentes, he disappears. A man with his money can hide anywhere in the world. Only one agency has the means to find him: Interpol. When police begin pressuring Mexican drug lord Amado Carrillo Fuentes, he disappears. US Customs, Mexican police, and Interpol work all their contacts to find him. But surveillance by Mexican police is not working. Rumors indicate the drug lord may even have undergone plastic surgery. Mexican Interpol's Ponce Edmondson knows the reason Carrillo Fuentes is on the run.
He was scared as hell that we would detain him. Carrillo felt he's always in hiding. He never sleeps 2 nights in the same place. When he has such a large organization tipping him off, when he has corrupt cops giving him information, when he can buy false, forged documents, passports of different nationality, he was so afraid that he took a lot of precautions.
Nothing investigators are doing works. Police at his home have not seen the drug lord since he drove off. Now that he is gone, Mexican police make a bold move. They seize Carrillo Fuentes' property in Mexico, some 54 mansions in all. They hope one of these homes will hold a clue to his current hideout. Police come up empty, but head of Mexico's Interpol office, Ponce Edmondson, notices a curious similarity.
They were in different places with different decorations, but they had pool tables. Why they had pool tables? Because Amado Carrillo Fuentes had to be hidden most of his time, and he liked to play pool.
Pool is not popular in Mexico. The drug lord's passion for the game might just lead Ponce to his hideout. Investigators notice several of Carrillo Fuentes' most trusted cartel members have also vanished. Ponce Edmondson fears he's fled the country.
Quite easy for a person like him, or he could offer $500,000 for some passports. So, I mean, corruption is anywhere when it's at those prices.
Carrillo Fuentes might be able to buy anonymity, but he can't buy luck. In England, 5,000 miles from Ponce Edmondson's office, a strange break occurs in the case. A woman at afternoon tea at the Ritz Hotel in London has $80,000 in traveler's checks stolen. Outraged, she goes to the police. Scotland Yard offers to investigate. The thief doesn't get far. A few days later, when he has an accomplice try to cash the checks, they find him. But it seems suspicious this woman would be carrying $80,000. To check out her story, the British detective turns to Interpol for help. He contacts Ponce Edmondson at the Mexican Interpol office.
When I heard the name of the lady, I knew was the mother of the principal lieutenant of Amado Carrillo.
Her son, Eduardo Gonzalez Quiarte, has worked with Carrillo Fuentes for years. Ponce Edmondson wants to take a closer look at the stolen traveler's checks. Scotland Yard faxes over the information. Interpol agent Ponce Edmondson wastes no time in running down the check numbers.
Those numbers of checks were bought wholesale $2.5 million, and they were in the hands of the Juárez Cartel.
Investigators learn they were purchased from a currency exchange office in Mexico City. Interpol finally has a tool they can use to track the cartel members.
I was seeing the breadcrumbs of where they were going, because every check that was traded, I was informed. So they went London, Paris, Barcelona, Moscow, Jerusalem, and most were spent in Chile and Argentina. So I went to Chile and Argentina.
In Argentina, Edmondson notices that a Juan Rangel has been using the checks to buy real estate. Rangel would provide the drug lord with the perfect cover. Ponce Edmondson travels to Argentina to talk with the real estate company where the man known as Rangel cashed several of the checks. The company provides no information. It seems even in South America, Carrillo Fuentes is buying people's allegiance. To capture Carrillo Fuentes, investigators are going to need a break. Ponce Edmondson plays a hunch.
I said, this is going to be quite difficult if we don't have something. What was that something? Pool tables. I knew that Amado couldn't live without a pool table.
When agents in Mexico seize Carrillo Fuentes' mansions, they notice they all have pool tables. Ponce Edmondson believes he may be able to use Carrillo Fuentes' unusual hobby to trip him up. He visits an importer who handles pool tables and plays a ruse.
I said, I love to play pool, and I would like to know if those people that bought those pool tables, if it's a bar or something where I could go play pool. No. They were for 4 private homes, and precisely was one of your compatriots, a Mexican that bought. Oh, then it would be love to play. Why don't you give me the address?
Edmondson's plan works. He gets the addresses. Convinced Carrillo Fuentes must be behind the purchases, Edmondson closes in. The residences are locked up tight. Carrillo Fuentes has vanished. Ponce Edmondson broadens the search to other South American countries. John Emhoff.
Yeah, the Juárez Cartel's huge. I mean, they've got more money, they've got more people, they've got more connections than any local law enforcement agency, even in any one country's law enforcement agencies. But when you bring Interpol into the equation, now you have this force multiplier. You can match fire with fire.
The Interpol offices in Mexico City, Buenos Aires, and Santiago, Chile compare their information. The office in Argentina gets a tip Carrillo Fuentes is at a hotel in Buenos Aires. Ponce Edmondson finally has him in his sights. But the drug lord has gotten away many times before. Mexican Interpol agents track Juárez drug lord Amado Carrillo Fuentes to a hotel in Argentina. But when they raid the hotel, Carrillo Fuentes is long gone.
Somebody tipped him and he left. We always one step behind. But that was good, because that's what got him so nervous and made him commit mistakes.
While staying at the hotel, Carrillo Fuentes had made a series of calls to the same town in Argentina. Now Interpol agents believe they have finally found his hideout. But before Interpol's Ponce Edmondson gets to him again, he goes on the run. Pressure from the authorities forces Carrillo Fuentes once more to flee the country. Interpol agents learn he escapes from Buenos Aires and goes to Cuba. From there, he sneaks back into Mexico. July 1997. Amado Carrillo Fuentes plans to disappear permanently. In a hospital in Mexico, he undergoes plastic surgery on his face. But something goes horribly wrong during the procedure. Under the effects of anesthesia, Carrillo Fuentes stops breathing, and the medical team cannot revive him. Carrillo Fuentes dies on the operating table. When Ponce Edmondson learns of the accident, he rushes to the hospital to try and identify the infamous criminal's body. Mexican officials and U.S. narcotics authorities want to confirm that the operating table victim is, in fact, Carrillo Fuentes.
The media thought that he was so resourceful and he had so much money that he could have put another corpse, so people will think he was dead, and then he would get out of the pressure. So it was very important to produce enough evidence to show that he was who he was, and that was DNA.
They take tissue and blood samples for testing. This microscopic evidence holds the key to the man's identity. A DNA lab in the U.S. confirms the dead man in the hospital is Amado Carrillo Fuentes. The murderer and drug kingpin who took over the cartel by killing his predecessor, an innocent tourist, and countless others, is dead. At autopsy, authorities discover the kingpin, a cocaine user himself, had the drug in his system when he died. He also had traces of a sedative, Dormicum, which Carrillo Fuentes often used to help him sleep after a cocaine binge. When the anesthetic combined with the Dormicum, it created a fatal cocktail. The ruthless drug lord had been struck down by drugs. Interpol has finally found Amado Carrillo Fuentes, but his death only signals the beginning of a new bloody drug war. It will turn the entire country into a battlefield.
It's like a wolf pack. When you knock the lead wolf down, they don't stop running. Somebody else emerges and the wolf pack just keeps on going. Generally, that is the most ruthless of the lieutenants waiting in the wings.
Mexican newspapers print photos of Carrillo Fuentes' corpse in the operating room, and news of his demise rocks the Mexican underworld. Outside Mexico City, a woman makes a gruesome discovery. Along a rural road, she finds a barrel. Inside is a mutilated corpse. Police identify the unfortunate man as the doctor who performed the plastic surgery on Carrillo Fuentes.
It's the ultimate signal of disrespect to an individual. So they send a signal to others that this is the way we're going to leave you if you cross us.
Police have evidence to suspect that the man behind the retribution killings is Alcides El Metro Mahana.
El Metro saw an opportunity to take over, and when he operated as ruthlessly as he did, the rest backed down, and he was able to take over the organization through force and intimidation. He was trying to rebuild the organization in his own mold, which is a lot cruder, a lot more violent. He operated differently through threat and intimidation. So as he had his own sources of information and identified local Mexican law enforcement investigations at the regional and state and local level, his tactic was to find out what he could and then kill him. A lot of local police officers died at the hands of El Metro.
El Metro has to be brought down. In 1998, Jose Luis Vasconcelos from the Mexican Attorney General's office joins the fight.
All the forces of the state were mobilized and exerted strong pressure over the organization.
Mexican police are now joined by the Mexican Army and U.S. military forces. They begin targeting El Metro aggressively.
To do this job, you must have strong convictions and overcome all your fears. These drug lords must be stopped. We must prevail, and we can if we don't give in to fear.
El Metro has shown himself to be a difficult target. He makes certain he is always well protected.
El Metro operated in two modes. One was to intimidate, terrorize, and kill, and the other was he still had to have sources of intelligence and some cover, especially governmental cover if he could find it.
Reportedly, his bribes go as high as governor of the Mexican state of Quintana Roo, Mario Villanueva.
What Mario Villanueva did was offer protection for the cartel. He ensured drug traffickers could land their airplanes and bring in their boats. He made certain they could move freely throughout the territory of Quintana Roo, and even laundered their money in the hotels of Cancun without fear of being detected.
Police intensify surveillance of his operation, but they believe El Metro is quick to strike back. On June 2nd, 1998, Juan Martinez, the leader of the investigation into El Metro's activities, is met by two police officers. Within minutes, he realizes he is in terrible danger. The men, posing as officers, take him to a secret location where he is reportedly tortured for hours. At the same time, El Metro allegedly sends his men to the investigation leader's office to reportedly steal evidence linking him to Governor Villanueva. The next morning, they leave the investigator in an empty field to die. He is discovered in time, and he's taken to a local hospital. This assault on a police officer infuriates Mexican police. They start an intense crackdown on all aspects of El Metro's operation. The new pressure creates problems for El Metro from within the cartel.
El Metro was being very rough. He was bringing scandal, and a lot of law enforcement to that area, precisely what the cartel didn't want.
Mexican authorities offer a reward of more than $400,000 for information that will lead to his arrest. When his friends and enemies turn against him for all of the bad publicity he is generating, he decides to make a break and abandon Cancun. Before he leaves, he undergoes plastic surgery, just as Carrillo Fuentes did. But unlike his former boss, he stays away from the drugs before he goes under the knife. The operation is a success. But Interpol and Ponce Edmondson are not about to let the cartel's suspected leader get away clean. Their only problem is that now they don't know what he looks like. As investigators close in on the Juárez Cartel, they make a series of high-profile arrests. But the suspected head of the cartel, drug smuggler El Metro Mahana, still remains at large. After undergoing plastic surgery to rebuild his face, he vanishes. In his wake, he leaves a political scandal. US Customs and the Mexican police begin an intense crackdown on corruption within the Mexican government.
Drug traffickers must have complicity with police and government officials. The cartel could only operate with the corruption and protection facilitated by the authorities. Before the drug trafficking could stop, the corruption had to be stopped.
In Mexico City, Jose Vasconcelos oversees a task force working to clean up the corruption. It is a daunting task. The Juárez Cartel has friends in very high places. The corruption is rampant throughout the military, the police, and it even reaches to some states' governors' mansions. Using wiretaps, investigators prove Mario Villanueva, governor of the state of Quintana Roo, is on the payroll of the Juárez Cartel. The corruption reached Mexico's drug czar General Gutierrez Rebollo. He was accused of betraying high-level informants who paid with their lives. Reportedly, a deputy general for narcotics was paid by the cartel $1.5 million a month. But the suspected leader of the cartel, El Metro, still eludes police. Agents believed El Metro was operating out of Cancun, and perhaps with his new look, that he has returned. Agents descend on the resort city. But they aren't certain what El Metro looks like now. He could be anywhere. Police work every lead they have, trying to gain any information on the whereabouts of the suspected drug lord. But getting good information is difficult. Each time they think they get close, El Metro has moved on. Either their information is no good, or he is tipped off. While police on the street are trying to track him down, agents start to study phone records of some of his known associates. They notice an interesting pattern. They are all making a series of phone calls to a number in a small town in the remote region of Tabasco. The town is called Villahermosa. It is the town where El Metro was born. Mexican police put together a team to go to Tabasco and shadow El Metro's every move. Ponce Edmondson learns that because of El Metro's violent reputation, the cartel lieutenants have forced him out.
That group of lieutenants says, look, you made a lot of scandal, you created a lot of problems for us. We owe you because you saved the life of our leader in the past, so we won't kill you. Just think you're dead. You have enough money, but you have no power, no anything. You can't do any more operations. Just enjoy your money and go 10,000 miles away from here.
In Tabasco, near the town of Villahermosa, the agents pick up El Metro's trail. They wait for the perfect time to spring a trap. They get a break from some unlikely sources.
We don't really know, but we have the suspicion that maybe he tried to do something because there were a lot of anonymous calls saying where he was going to be in Tabasco. Maybe it was a rival cartel.
Perhaps El Metro angered his competition, but Ponce Edmondson and Interpol used this information to find the perfect time to strike. El Metro makes an appointment to make a phone call from a public phone. This is the opportunity Interpol has been waiting for. The officers wait for El Metro to approach the phone. They check to make certain he is alone. When they are convinced it is safe, they move in. On June 12th, 2001, Interpol gets their man. El Metro is arrested and brought back to Mexico City to stand trial for drug trafficking. But a Mexican court releases him, citing a lack of evidence. He is then rearrested in March of 2002 and charged again with drug trafficking. He is awaiting trial at the La Palma Federal Maximum Security Prison outside of Mexico City. Years after the arrest of El Metro, billions of dollars of illegal drugs still cross the Mexican border to the U.S. each year. So, for Interpol and law enforcement agencies in Mexico and the U.S., the battle continues to try and slow this deadly traffic.